Welcome to Creepy Chronicles. We bring you 5 short stories with endings that will leave you watching the shadows. Ready? Let's begin. A businessman on a business trip booked a room at a quaint, old inn on the outskirts of town. The innkeeper, a gray-haired man with a nervous smile, handed him his key, but gave him a warning. Please, sir, whatever you do, don't peek into room 5. The businessman's curiosity only grew with the strange request. One night, when the inn was quiet, he crept down the hall and bent down to peek through the keyhole of room 5. The room was dark, but he could just make out the silhouette of a woman standing perfectly still in the middle of the room. Her back turned to him. Her pale skin seemed to glow, even in the darkness. He stepped away, shaken, but convinced it was a trick of the light. The next morning, he couldn't resist mentioning it to the innkeeper. The man's face went pale. "You looked through the keyhole?" he asked, his voice trembling. "That's impossible. The only thing in that room is a mirror." A new nurse started her first night shift at a rundown hospital with parts of the building long abandoned. During orientation, the head nurse warned her about the sealed-off Ward D. Don't go near it. They shut it down years ago. But one night, while making her rounds, the new nurse heard faint knocking coming from the ward. Against her better judgment, she followed the sound and found the heavy door slightly ajar. Curious, she peered through the crack. The ward was dark and cold. Rows of decayed beds, barely visible in the shadows. But in one of the beds, she saw a patient, pale, gaunt, and sitting upright, staring at the door. Startled, she closed the door and hurried back to the main area. When she reported what she saw, the head nurse sighed. "You looked through the door, didn't you?" A young man moved into an old hotel temporarily while his apartment was being renovated. As the bellhop led him to his room, he casually mentioned to avoid room 214 at all costs. The man couldn't resist his curiosity. As days passed, the thought of room 214 kept gnawing at him. Finally, one night, he decided to sneak down the hallway and press his ear against the door. He heard faint humming, a child's lullaby. It was unsettling, but more so because the hotel had no children as guests. The next night, his curiosity overwhelmed him. He leaned against the door again. This time it was dead silent. But when he looked down, he noticed something chilling. From beneath the door, a shadow formed in the shape of a face pressed against the floor, as if something on the other side was staring right back at him. A college student rented a room in an old boarding house near campus. His landlady, a frail woman with jittery hands, warned him to avoid the room at the end of the hall, the one with the crimson window. When he asked why, she only shook her head and whispered, "Just don't look in." Curiosity gnawed at him. One night, he crept down the hall and glanced through the dusty glass of the crimson-tinted window. The room inside was dim, but he could make out shapes. A child's bed, toys scattered across the floor, and something huddled in the corner. A figure, swaying back and forth, its face pressed against the wall. Its voice was low and fractured, like broken glass. He backed away from the window, but not before seeing something else. His own reflection in the glass, except his reflection was smiling. A journalist researching an old asylum was given special permission to tour the decayed building. The caretaker, an old man with hollow eyes, warned him to avoid cell 9 in the underground level. "They never should have built that cell," the caretaker muttered. The journalist couldn't resist. He made his way down to the underground floor, his flashlight flickering as he approached the rusted iron door of cell 9. Peering through the tiny window, he saw nothing but darkness. He was about to leave when something caught his eye. A pair of eyes, glinting like glass, staring right at him from the blackness. He stumbled backward and nearly dropped his flashlight. When he looked again, there was nothing but an empty, decaying room. He hurried back upstairs and found the caretaker. "You looked through the window, didn't you?" the man said, his voice trembling. Which story got under your skin? Let us know in the comments, if you're still here. And remember, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications, because some stories have a way of finding you again. Sleep well, if you can.